Well, good morning everyone. Today I bring you a very special video. It's a bit of a lads on tour. I'm here with Greg from Greg's Wildlife, Fred from the channel Watch Our Wildlife, and Graham from Naturally Curious UK. There he is. You can't see him though, he's wearing camo. Anyway, today we've come to Sculthorpe Moor near Fakenham, and it's the first time I've ever been here, so let's have a look around. Sculthorpe Moor is one of two nature reserves that are owned and managed by the Hawk and Owl Trust. The site is based in the upper reaches of the River Wensum Valley. After paying a small fee for entry and trying to work out what this taxidermy animal was, unsuccessfully, we passed into a small grassed courtyard area where there were a couple of hanging bird feeders. Most of the action was on the ground, and at first it was dominated by this male blackbird. The two that flew away and the bird in the background here are chaffinches, and here's another. This, with its orange cheeks and sides and grey hood, is a male. And soon after came along the UK's favourite bird, a European robin. I didn't film much up on the feeders, but here's an out of focus greenfinch, a marsh tit and a coal tit. It was time to move into the reserve proper, and after a few minutes we reached the first hide, Dragonfly Hide. So we're in the first hide. I'm whispering because it's polite and that's the only reason. Just there in front of us there's a few bird feeders. One of them was absolutely covered in greenfinches. And then Graham and Fred saw a white throat, but I didn't see it. Hopefully Fred's going to send me his footage. But look at this view. I'd spent too much time introducing the hide, and the guys had taken the best seats in the house. Luckily, my camera has a good enough zoom that I'm still able to show you these greenfinches. This species is nowhere near as common as it was at the turn of the century, with some surveys suggesting they have declined by 64% in the last 25 years. This is mainly blamed on a disease called Finch trichomoniasis, which can spread from bird to bird through dirty bird feeders and drinking water. However, they do seem to be doing quite well at Sculthorpe, with more than 15 visiting these feeders whilst we were there. They were occasionally joined by great tits, blue tits, and a couple of marsh tits. And here's Fred's footage of the whitethroat. This was filmed in early September, and shortly after, this bird would have started a 2,600-mile journey to Central Africa, where it will spend the winter. It was time to move on from the first hide. If only Graham would let us out of the door. Oh. Definitely going to leave that in there. Graham missing the handle 5 times. A lot of work has been carried out at Sculthorpe in recent years. The paths are flat and well maintained, meaning the entire reserve is accessible for people with limited mobility. Soon we made it to a bird viewing area, where once again I faffed about too much and missed the best viewing hatches. It doesn't matter though, I could still see the star of the show, a female pheasant hoovering up seeds from under a hanging feeder. She was accompanied by a small flock of dunnocks. These small brown and grey birds are often found on or close to the ground, and used to be known as hedge sparrows. But they aren't actually closely related to sparrows, and are the only member of their family in the UK, the centaurs. We left them to it, and headed on towards the Woodland Hide. This time, we all had an equal view, and after a while noticed some activity around a feeder outside. It was a mammal taking advantage of the spilled seed. With its medium length tail and grey-brown fur, this is a bank vole, They're the smallest vole in the UK and a prey to various birds and larger mammals. See how it stays very alert while sniffing out the best sunflower seeds before taking them away to cache for the winter. And then it was off, but a larger mammal soon appeared, a female muntjac. If she was hungry, she would have also eaten the spilled seeds, but as there was plenty of green vegetation around, she seemed preoccupied, smelling for other delicacies, and soon walked out of view. It was time to carry on, if only we could figure out where we were.
Branched off, I don't know.
No, we've come up this way, so we are here, so if we go up this way, so we go out and left.
Why don't we check out, see if there's a signpost outside the hide?
No, that sounds like sounds like sensibility. What would we do with that?
So after spending a couple of minutes deliberating over the map in the hide, we've come out the hide only to find there's a signpost telling us which way to go.
And that's why Graham's voice navigator. About 100 yards down the path, we spotted another female muntjac in the undergrowth. It could have been the same one as before, but as this non-native deer is one of the most numerous in the east of England, it's also possible that it was a different one. She got startled by one of us, and despite Graham's best attempt at creeping along the boardwalk, we couldn't spot her again. Soon it was time to stop for a snack, and whilst I tucked into a bag of oiled and fried thin slices of potato, Fred spotted this dragonfly resting on a piece of reed. I believe this is a common darter, but I am not a dragonfly expert. Nearby was also this orb weaver spider, going about making a new web. It's a delicate and slow process as it attaches silk to each spoke as it goes round in an inward spiral. This is 5 times the real speed. Snacks eaten and webs built, we moved on to Woodland Hide. Despite the beautiful water-filled ditch which the hide overlooked, the first bit of wildlife we saw from here was a marsh harrier in the distance. With a wingspan of almost 4 feet, marsh harriers are the largest harrier in the world and are a real success story in the UK. They have recovered from just one breeding female in the country in 1971 to almost 400 pairs here today. Closer into the hide was a bird feeding platform, and there was almost always something to see. Here is a female chaffinch with her white wing bars and green-grey colouring, and here's another. Oh, and a male great tit. On the ground under the feeder, some other creatures were taking advantage of the buffet, a mischief of brown rats. These rodents are the ancestors of domestic rats, and whether you love them or loathe them, there is no denying that they are highly intelligent and born survivors. Back up on the feeder, a bird had arrived which I've only featured on this channel once before, a bullfinch. With its red breast and undersides and black head, this is a male, and if you look closely, you might notice it has a ring on its leg. This helps researchers to keep track of individual birds' movements and how long they live for. Bullfinches have powerful beaks, and this one is using his to remove the hard outer shells of some black sunflower seeds to eat the hearts inside. We moved on towards the next hide, where Greg and Graham almost couldn't handle their excitement. So we're now moving on to the third hide of the day. This is the new Woodland Hide. Greg, how are you feeling about it?
Wet.
I don't know if I can leave that in. Great, Graham, how are you feeling about it?
Well, I mean, it's a new hide, so it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
Rude not to. I guess we'll see what we find. The hide and the habitat in front of it was newly created, but this meant although it looked beautiful, there wasn't very much wildlife to see, apart from this well camouflaged female mallard, and a very brief glimpse of a kingfisher as it flew by. Time was running out. Graham had taken time out of his family holiday to visit Sculthorpe with us, and needed to get back to his accommodation by late lunchtime. The next hide was Tower Hide, but unfortunately the best seats had already been taken, so we decided to move along and pop back in later. We moved on towards the furthest hide, Paul Johnson Hide, and after stopping to admire a mating wheel of dragonflies, we arrived to find it perfectly empty. There was a pool in front of this hide, but in the midday sun it was quite quiet, except for this wood pigeon. It was trying to eat something at the base of a reed mace, but didn't seem to understand that there was a twig stopping it from proceeding. In the shallows of the pool, we also noticed a few pairs of dragonflies depositing their eggs. Here, the male is holding on to the female with the base of his abdomen, while she flicks eggs onto the water's surface. After 10 minutes at the hide, we decided to pop back into Tower Hide as Graham made his way towards the car park. The best seats had been taken by someone else, but they were happy for me to film over their shoulder. On a feeding platform, maybe 2 metres from the hide, was a group of young bullfinches. I don't think I've ever seen them at this age before in real life, so it was great to see 4 of them together. They're already experts at shelling the sunflower hearts, and despite only being youngsters, they were definitely top of the pecking order on the platform. With Graham having to leave us, Greg, Fred and I made our way back towards the car park, but couldn't help stopping in at the new hide for one more glance. Wildlife was still thin on the ground, but I did manage to film this buzzard in a nearby tree eating something that it grabbed from near the water. I've watched this clip a lot of times, frame by frame, and I'm pretty sure the prey here is a frog, which isn't a buzzard's typical food, but it is not unheard of. With nothing else to see at the new hide, we carried on back towards the reception. And after a short walk, we're back to where the journey began this morning. Unfortunately, Graham had to leave a little bit early. He is here on a family holiday, so I appreciate him making any time to come and see us, and I hope he enjoyed his morning. Greg and Graham are both going to make videos from today, so I'll post a link to them down below. You probably will enjoy them if you've made it this far in this video. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just 2 members of my boy band over there. Graham's the main singer, and then Greg's the backup dancer. Fred's inside, but he does promotion, so don't worry about that.